Welcome to #52Needs, and this week we are talking about contribution. And I'm so delighted to have with me Corrina Lindby, coach to the coaches, trainer to the trainers, mentor to the mentors. Corrina from The Answer Is Yes is passionate about helping business owners understand the requirements to protect their livelihood if the unforeseen happens. Corrina's unique background as a qualified accountant who ran her own financial counseling practice, work health and safety consultant and trainer who built a registered training organization, makes her the go-to person for anyone who needs help with their business. Corrina and her organization, The Answer Is Yes, convert expert knowledge into online courses. Corrina offers access to affordable, essential expert professional training without the need to engage an expensive specialist consultant. Welcome, Corrina. It's lovely to see you.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
So we're talking about contribution.
Yes.
What was the first thing you thought when you think about contribution, when you thought about it?
If somebody said contribution to me, I think the first thing I always think about is what are we giving back to the community, to those around us. And if we're just insular people, then we're very poor people. I think giving out and helping others really does enrich your life. And it's not necessarily the money, it's the experiences that you get. Because I think back to, I often say this to my kids, tell me what you got for Christmas last year, and they can't remember. Tell me what you did last year at Christmas, and they can remember. So there's a complete difference in things as opposed to experiences. And I think that's what enriches people's life, is the experiences.
Well, already on topic then, I mean, Christmas is coming up, and a lot of people think they contribute to somebody's happiness by giving them lots and lots of gifts. And it's really interesting because for me, contribution has nothing to do with giving somebody material things. It's giving somebody, for me, it's an experience of doing something together, spending time together, doing something that's like a service to somebody. And that could be just giving somebody a hug. So, yeah. As you said, material things fade, but experiences last.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things when I was running my financial counselling practice. I used to get a lot of single parents, and they would struggle with, competing with the other parent and stuff like that. And one of the things I always encouraged them to do was create a memory, get a memory box, a physical box, and that's the thing that you put in there. And even when they were young, start putting in the memories, because when they got to the teen years, and when they start to throw it back out, you never spent any time with me. You can pull out the memory box and go, remember when we did this? Remember when you did that? It is definitely not material things that people remember. In all of our lives, the people who have really reached out and touched us, it's always been because of something that they did unselfishly that's really reached us, whether it's our kids or a family or members of the community. It's standing in a checkout line. I remember one day this poor woman didn't have enough for her groceries, so I just went up and I paid it with my own card. Yeah. And to me, that enriched my day and enriched my week, and there's no expectation of getting it back, but it's that how do you contribute to others? But that's the thing that they would always remember. So
absolutely. So the thing is, I went, when I was, looking at what are we going to talk about, I was thinking about children are pretty selfish little beings, right?
That's an understatement at times, I think.
It's all about them. Right? My needs, my needs, my needs. And as parents, it's our job to take care of those. But contribution becomes really important later in life, but we have to start people fairly early in order to somehow get that understanding how important it is, because we are not islands. So, and I look at parents, I don't have children, but I look at parents and I go, it's like, I see parents who teach their children how to contribute by saying, we're in this household together. So you're contributing by setting the table.
Yes.
You're contributing by putting your toys away. And it's an easy way of saying, like you're contributing to the community and not to other people's well-being. I think that goes too far for children, but you're contributing to people being I see. As you know me. It's like making somebody happy is not my thing. We don't make somebody happy. We're not in charge of somebody else's emotions, but we can contribute to their well-being. We can contribute to them feeling content or helping them manage difficulties. So I think we need to start. And in today's world, where we're just so focused on, get it now and pay later.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
so important.
I think starting even with kids is when we teach them to do chores around the home, and unfortunately we're paying them. We pay them and we reward them and we give it to them. But it's teaching them the things that when you go out, like if you see an elderly person, can you help carry their bags? Can you open the doors for other people and let others go forward first? Being observant of people around you. If you'll see somebody that might be homeless down the street, it might cost you. What can you do? And, even with how they spend their money, what percentage of it is savings, what percentage is their fund, but what percentage is they're giving to somebody else. It's teaching them money giving as well, and how to think of others and how they can contribute to them. If we could teach them that at a young age and instill those beliefs at that younger age, then we wouldn't have half the problems in the world, to be honest. And even things like at school, the bullying and seeing others victimized, learning to speak up, learning to say no, learning to protect others. If we can teach that, that's their way of contributing to society, to forming it now. And I think as parents, it's our job to, help mold them. And I think maybe we have, my generation has dropped the ball. We were doing so much for them that we forgot to teach them those values that even generations ago would be considered norm. We've lost somewhere along the way, that it's that expectations that there has been a cultural shift. We're not as giving, we're not as thoughtful as we used to be and should be, and contributing to society. I think as parents, it needs to start, when they're much younger.
Well, I mean, people think that they contribute to a charity by, giving a certain amount of money every month or, something like that. That's not the contribution. It's as you said, it's the awareness of living in a community, of being there. I remember I can't remember. It's been a little while, but I got on a bus and there are these boys, a whole bunch of boys, and they're sitting in the front of the bus, which is the area reserved for people who find it difficult to get to the back of the bus. And they're sitting in all of these seats. And there are definitely people coming on who would have qualified for these kind of seats. So I leaned forward and tapped one of the boys on the shoulder and I said, "Are you elderly?" And he looked at me completely confused and he said, "No." I said, "Are you sick?" And he said, "No." I said, "You must be pregnant then." And he said, "No." And I said, "So why are you sitting in seats reserved for people that qualify and other people are standing?" And to his credit, he blushed and he got up and he poked his mates and they all got up and got to the end of to the back of the bus. But there was no awareness. They were all so focused on their iPhones. They was not even looking around to see if there was somebody there who would have liked to have a seat. It was just about, just that internal focus of, not even relating to the people around them. And I find that really hard, I have to say.
Yeah, I think half of it is that you're right, that total lack of awareness. And until you tell them, they don't know what they don't know. So they're not aware until somebody points it out. But I bet you from here on in, that teenage boy, he'd know when he hopped on the bus that those seats were reserved for people elderly, sick, pregnant, whatever. And in future, he'll know to go to the back of the bus because somebody made him aware. So how do we make them people aware?
Yeah.
It's, yes, we try to demonstrate it, we try to live it, but sometimes it takes a voice for people to speak up and say, hey, it's not right.
Yeah.
I remember I got asked to speak at the Lone Fathers Association invited me down on behalf of the Law Society to speak at Parliament House. And there's a crowd of people there. There was a lot of, members of Parliament there. And this guy got up and he just started having a rant, if you would. And it was just totally inappropriate. And I kept looking over to the organisers thinking, are you going to stop this guy? And he was just going off. So I got up and I went up to him. I took the microphone. I said, "Thank you very much. Now our next speaker is going to be such and such. And you're right, you can go and sit down now. Thank you. We're moving on to our next speaker." And everybody just looked at me. And I go, "Next one up." And the organisers weren't going to do it. And then I had at the end of the session, all these members of parliament coming up saying, "Thank you, you did something that we couldn't do." And I go, sometimes it takes courage doing the wrong thing. This was all on camera. The whole thing was recorded. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I couldn't not say something. Yeah. It was just like, I think the biggest thing that's always led me was that quote, evil wins when good men do nothing.
Yeah.
And if that means that somebody's evil wins, then it has to be stopped. And the guy came up afterwards and he was backing me into a corner, and I gave it to him. I says, now was not the time. It was inappropriate. If you've got an issue, that was a personal, you needed to take it up on a different level. This was not the forum. This was to look at solutions for what we're working on, not for you to have a rant and a rave. I'm sorry, but enough is enough. And then I started pushing back. So the good thing is I'm 6 foot tall, and so it's really hard to intimidate me. I just refused to be backed into a corner. And then I had all these other pollies coming up next to me, and they were started to get a line of defense. So I was like, no, you have to speak up. And when you see things wrong, you have to speak up.
Absolutely.
And I think, I see this with my Indigenous friends, and it's like, if I see it wrong, people, they're discriminated against and all that. If we don't say anything, I've got Aboriginal grandkids. If I don't speak up now, I don't want them to be victimised in the future. So I have to speak up now. We have to make changes. We have to, if we see something wrong that's not right, do something about it. And I think that's the biggest contribution we can make to society, is to speak out, to actually stand up for what is right.
I totally agree with you. The thing is, a lot of people equate contribution with warm and fuzzy feelings and, an open audience who receptively receives what they have to offer. Whereas a lot of contribution means, you actually have to deal with uncomfortable stuff, because the contribution that you may make is just making people aware of something that doesn't quite work, and then getting through that discomfort of rejection or resistance. But I'm so on board with you. I mean, I can't remember, but it was probably about 25 years ago when I was working on my mission statement and my vision statement. It's like, what do I want to achieve in the world? What am I here for? And I came up with this tiny little thing that was, I contribute to the evolution of human consciousness. And, and it's what I do every day with just a little bit. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me going. But I have to step out of my comfort zone very regularly in order to make it happen. And it's not, and I have to have, and I learned to have the difficult conversations, because I would not have done that 25 years ago. I was the one who rolled over. I grew up in a family where it was not okay to have a different opinion. And I didn't contribute, because it was just, and as you said, if we want to contribute to society, we have to speak up. And that means teaching people how to think critically and have constructive discussions. And we don't do that.
No, everybody's fearful of other people's opinions, that we might say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. But it's not until we speak up that people become aware that there is actually an issue. I saw it, I never realized how hard my Aboriginal friends had it. I was one of my trainers, she asked me to, I often become the business coach to a lot of our trainers, and she had this gig at a primary school, and she asked me if I could go with her, and I said, yeah, I'll go with you, I'll go and support you. So I'm going there as a business manager, because I find that she sometimes devalues her contribution, and she knows I'll jump in if she starts to pitch too low. So I came in, and she walked in first, walked up to the counter, and I walked behind her. the person behind the counter didn't look to her, who was standing in front of her, but looked to me. I was white, she was white, and totally disregarded her because she was Aboriginal. And I go, this is wrong. You know, they are important people. And I said to her, hey, I'm not the one that's here today. Donna's here. She's the guest today. And they go, oh. And the lady didn't even see her. You know, she totally missed it. And I thought, no, we've got to speak up. We've got to speak out for them. And I, you know, like I feel for them. You know, if they get on the buses, people won't sit next to them. And it's like, you know, we've got to step up. We've got to be there. And if I get it wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm there to protect you as well. So, and it's to speak out. And if we don't, then what are we? Are we a burden or a gift to society?
Yeah. Again, and there's a difference between rescuing somebody or giving them helping them get the voice, you know, showing them how they can step up and they can do it, being an example. I'm not crazy about charities that give people fish. I love people who give people the tools to learn how to fish, to use totally overused metaphor, analogy. But it's about really contributing to somebody, because contribution and growth go hand in hand.
Yes.
And if I just contribute to somebody's status and keep them in the same place, that's not contributing. In my book anyways. I mean, somebody else may see that differently. And like every other conversation we're having here, this is supposed to be a thought starter for people to start thinking about, what does contribution mean in your life? How do you contribute? You know, all of those things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why when I started my financial practice, and it was interesting back in the days, I only ever went to one association meeting because I was frowned on, because I charged people for my services, and they were all about, you know, no, people are in financial difficulty, we should be helping them. And I looked on it and I go, no, if you give it to them for free, they're not going to value it. It costs them to get into debt, so it's going to cost them to get out of debt. But if you don't put a value on it, they're never going to do anything. And without fail, every time I foolishly did something for somebody for free, they never followed through. They never, you know, changed the behavior. They never looked at it until it cost them. They didn't grow. They just stagnated. They kept doing the same old things. They kept getting them to the same problems. So it had to come at a cost to them for them to activate change.
Yeah.
If we keep giving things to people, it does not activate that change in their life, and then we're actually prolonging their time in the purgatory, if you like, because they're not uncomfortable enough to want to get out of the position that they're in. We're just contributing to where they're at. It's got to hurt them before they actually take action to want to get out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I used to teach courses to long-term unemployed people, who prepared them for interviews so they could get back into work. And they basically, and I only ran a couple of those because inevitably most of the people who sat in front of me, and I would say that was definitely most of them sat in front of me and said, I'm just doing this because it's a requirement. I really don't want to do anything. I'm going to do these required interviews that I have to do, but I'm not interested in being successful because I'm on the dole, and the dole pays me better than any job I would get at the moment. It's like, okay, something's not working here.
Yeah.
But that's not contribution.
No.
You know? So if we're getting into this place of where society owes me, or my parents owe me, or my employer owes me, you know, like this whole deserving and entitlement kind of model, then we're getting into a very selfish place, and contribution doesn't, you know, from a selfish place doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And even at work, there are things, if you're employed in a job, are you just there because you're paid to be there, or could you be contributing by going above and beyond? Every job I've ever been in, I've always looked at how can I improve what I'm doing. Does that mean going out and cleaning out the storeroom because it's a mess and I've got nothing else to do? Yes, I go and clear out the storeroom. What can I do? How can I contribute? How can I make things better? How can I give more than my time? I don't think I've ever worked in a job where I worked 9 to 5. It's never, ever worked that way.
What a perfect segue, because we have another conversation coming up about contribution at work. So, so let's finish here and go to the other conversation, which is going to be a new video for those of you who are interested in watching and listening to both. Thank you so much, Corrina. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thanks very much, Angela.